Please know the views and opinions expressed during RealBlackTalk.com do not necessarily reflect those of the staff.
I'm taking a deep breath. You got to when you're being watched on the B-side. What can I say? I've been thinking a lot. But what I wanted to say about Prism and the undercover and how they be watching you all the time. You ain't got no privacy. Is that what we're up in here to say? What we're up in here for? I wonder sometimes. I was wondering after last time when I talked about Barry Goldwater, remember? Those of you who is perfect audience and who be watching every week while it's happening, is shape-shifting. I was thinking more afterwards about Barry Goldwater and the people like him in my life. Terry Hunt, Joel Ziff, BK. There's a few of them. Larry Cohen. People who disappointed me. And I guess, although I don't like to think of it this way, people who I disappointed. What's that like? Putting yourself in the other person's shoes. I don't know if I was Barry Goldwater. I think those things, being Barry Goldwater or Richard Nixon, it's hard to put yourself in another mind. There's some philosophers, maybe Kant and Hume and Locke. Keep it locked and loaded. That's what I'm thinking. But Barry Goldwater, you remember, he was my friend. He was in my men's group for 10 years, the same one with Terry Hunt. Yeah, him disappointed me. It happens. But when do you let it go? How do you let it go? I was at a party yesterday afternoon. It was hot. It was some old friends, some Cambridge friends, some maybe perfect audience, and some Seamus Heaney fans. Ain't gonna say no names. But Barry Goldwater came up. Well, actually, it was Mariba who came up. I ain't even gonna talk about Mariba. Too much to say. Barry Goldwater's where it is now. And I think the thing about Barry Goldwater that I didn't get to say last time, the important thing to me was that he didn't value me enough. Not even $150 worth to follow through on his promise. And not because he couldn't, because if he'd have couldn't, and if he'd have said, I can't, that would have been okay. Would have eaten that, probably been mad. But it wouldn't have been the last time I saw Barry Goldwater. Yeah, those 3 years ago. How long can you hold on to some things? Mariba reminds me of that. I'm taking a deep breath. You take it in. You surround the inner rage so it don't eat away at you from the inside of your gastrointestines. It don't eat the lining with acid and acid reflux. And you ain't burping and farting all the time. You take a deep breath. Because if you're eating all them hot dogs and turkey burgers and hamburgers and all that chicken wing stuff, except it wasn't wings, it was legs. And they don't cook too good, but they burn on the outside. It got burnt on the outside with Barry Goldwater. Burnt beyond repair in my mind. I wrote him an email afterwards just 'cause I thought maybe it'd help to get it off my mind, to say what I really thought. I'm not sure even to this day I know what I really thought, what I'm thinking. Just that I'm sad. That I'm sad that I don't see any way out other than to just end it, to just cut it off, to cut it off before it be done, and to cut it off without working it through, without grieving it. 'Cause you grieve stuff. You remember people, that you liked their stories, that they were your best friend, like Don Burton. Takes a while, but you come to terms with this stuff. You circle around the stupa, and if you're like me, you just believe it as an article of trust and faith and prism, that your mirror image, that you can flip the script someday. Someday you be the Pied Piper, and you visit and Piper come and you feel good. Feel like there's an old friend, or at least a friend of a friend, or a friend of a friend of a friend. You know, and it kind of sets you up, kind of seeds the soil with seed syllables on slippery slopes, and there's lots of layers to lubricate. If you're going to go into the deep state, the deeper state, you circle around again and again, and you see those same old people, and they get older just like you. And you notice your skin kind of bunching and bagging and holding up. And sometimes what once were real teeth, they just faked up now. Then you have that Botox on your eyebrows, and you have a little tummy tuck, and pretty soon you're the results of all those hip replacements and knee replacements and bones and runes. 'Cause it's a queequeg moment, and maybe at the end of the day you never see Barry Goldwater again, but you want to do the grieving for what could have been, for who you could have known, for what could have happened. Something had been different that you couldn't quite put your finger on. If there was some way to do it differently so that you weren't estranged from brothers Bobby and Gary, and didn't feel like you were going to stay estranged till wherever you go, after you go from that body that balloons up and breaks down. You take a deep breath and you chant, Om. Om. Come on, join me. That's how I know there's perfect audience out there, and the feng shui's right, and the auras and the chakras, they're all set up The seed syllables been said. The slippery slopes been lubricated. The levels and the epilevels. Because at the end of the day, the reason I do this program is because I'd like to be able to say to as many people as possible, 6 degrees C is 666. Start there. I do when I write every morning. 6 degrees C is 666. And I got a itch to say the truth, a itch to say them things that you bitch about, you rant and you rave, and it's a musha reefer madness. And it's sad, it's a certain sadness, and it depresses you. Unless you find a way to endogenously, indigenously set off the endomorphins. Because they morph, them endomorphins. They morph into the cytoskeleton. And the plasma, the quark gluon plasma, which sets the tone for your gut microbiome. And sometimes all you need is one kind of bacteria to colonize your innards, to cure you from all that endometriosis and Crohn's disease, all that stuff that eats away from you from the inside. Like Barry Goldwater, or Joel Ziff, or Don Burton, or all them stories where you spent so much time being friends, and then you wasn't. It wasn't happening anymore. And you left. You left feeling bad, and you feel bad still. And then, if you're lucky, you got them others, like my Habibi, my Beshert, Schwarze, please, and above and beyond the call of duty and booty, they show up, and you show up. They encourage you to show up. And sometimes, just sometimes, you find the moment where the pebble hits the bamboo and you get it. What you've been given. You've been given the benefit of the doubt. My mother gave me the benefit of the doubt. A shout out to my dead mother. 2 years dead now. Had lunch with my Auntie Dina, and we was talking about my mother a little bit. And what a good friend she was, and a good mother, and a good person. If you're lucky and you got one of them, and I did, it's like white privilege. Kind of gives you a head start along the way to being someone you could look up to if you knew which way was up. You take a deep breath. You try and feel your life's mission if you know what your life's mission is. And sometimes you think, mission accomplished. But then it turned out that all that was a lie, all them WMDs that you brandished. You cross the permeations, you cross the osmoses, and it oscillates. It's an electric universe, and there's a Birkeland effect. There's a thunderbolt. It's all about the lightning, it turns out, or so some think. About the quark gluon plasma. And what happens there? And what gives gravity what gravity has? And if you're at the center of gravity, if you're taking a deep breath, at the center of gravity, you control time. You can slow it down. Like that story by Tobias Wolff, Bullet in the Brain. Beautiful story. They is. That's how it ends. I won't read you the rest today, but maybe another day. Another day when we be live together, taking a deep breath. Setting the feng shui. Raising the kundalini. If you get it, if you really get it, you realize you've been given the benefit of the doubt. And that for the most part, you mean well. And people, them other minds, they mean well too. Although sometimes you can't see it. I still can't see it about Barry Goldwater. Why he wouldn't want to be my friend, why he'd reject me like that. And you feel it. It shames you at first. Until you get a 36, some Lumidvovniks who think you're hunky-dory and cut you some slack. Cook up on the barbecue them turkey hamburgers and hot dogs. Turkey hot dogs was pretty good, I got to say. Fruit salad, and I brought pineapple, fresh pineapple. Still, it was a good food. I was full. Didn't have none of that Edie's ice cream. Let that go. But I did eat the birthday cake. Probably shouldn't have. Had a piece of corn, but it wasn't about the corn. And I sang 10 years ago. Perhaps someday I'll get my friend the accordion, or is it a concertina? The player, the poet. We did it last night. 10 years ago, on a cold, dark night. I was thinking of the band version. It was good. And yesterday I was in good form. It was nice. I felt those people watching, or at least some of them, at least one of them thought, wow, he's great. I don't know what that person was thinking, but just me thinking that they was thinking that helped me out a lot. I liked it. I did it in good faith. I sang in good faith. I acted in good faith. And I miss Barry Goldwater, truth be told. I liked his stories and his bravado, his brash kind of strutting around, Yankee Doodle. He was a real gringo. Still is, I'm sure, out there. And he's always thinking he's in the right and he's the best, and that's Barry Goldwater. But I could live with that till the $150. Then, felt like you crossed the line. You know how things get when they cross a line. You cut people off. Or they cut you off, and you wonder. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding or a inner estimation. Like with Linda Charnas, that time she saved me a seat for the high holiday services, and I wound up real late because I didn't understand that she was saving me a seat, and I thought I could just turn up when I was ready, and I did. Boy, was she mad. And there wasn't any fixing it either. Sometimes that happens. You mean well, you give the benefit of the doubt, in good faith, and you tell breathtaking truth to BFFs here at Hamlin, at the Buddhist Alzheimer's Artists Home for the Hospiceless. Up in here, you don't got to know your name. It's obvious. Extinction 2112 is happening as we speak. The climate is shape-shifting, and our carbon fingerprint is right up inside you. And it's a certain carbon masturbating shift. It's a shape shift, it's a masturbation, it's a switcheroony. And they're gonna build the Keystone XL or something like it, Line 61 and all them other places that they're piping, and all the other bomb trains that the corporations won't be held accountable for in their shell games. When there's a big accident in the Beaufort Sea, or at Indian Point, in the spent fuel pools, and for a measly $12.2 billion, $85.7 trillion of real estate value gets annulled. Because once Indian Point blows, and it will, mark my words, it will blow. With 2020 hypo hindsight, it can't not eventually, because they push it. The OCD greedsters and the PTSD post-concussives, the NFL deflategators, the democracy deflategate that we're experiencing without no habeas corpus, but with Hobby Lobby and Citizens United and all the rest. Gary Wills says it's bomb power, says it all started with the Manhattan Project and the secrecy, the secret deep state, and its NSC 68, and how they built the super and took away Robert Oppenheimer's security clearance. So it was LBJ who said there was a light at the end of the tunnel if you knew what we knew. Trust us. It's a state secret, but you can trust us. That's what they say these days. It's sad that we're all going down together. And this is the Holocene, and we didn't have no Grexit. We had another Trojan horse, and Tsipras let it in. He let the Trojan horse in. Oh well, it all got reduced to drachma drama and Dramamine and draconian measures. 'Cause they're gonna put down Podemos. All the good stuff that happens, bad stuff happens after it. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says something like that. Teach me to care and not to care. That's T.S. Eliot. It's kind of deep. Kind of reminds me of Barry Goldwater, how he did me, and how mad and ashamed and sad, humiliated. I feel it, but I'm working it. Sometimes when you look the shame in the mouth and you let it suffuse and suppress you. You become a supplicant, a supplicant, a supplicant. And there is salvation. And there is forgiveness. I forgive you, Barry Goldwater.